Hello, everybody. Welcome to Movies by McManus, the podcast where we break down movies, comics, TV, books, whatever kind of media you're into in the context of who created it and what effect it's trying to have on the world. Today, we're going to be talking about The Queen's Gambit, the 2020 Netflix miniseries, written and directed, kind of showrun by Scott Frank, and based off the novel by Walter Tevis. And Scott Frank, it's not his directorial debut, but he's more known as a screenwriter. He's written screenplays for like many famous directors, but he pretty much always has another director take over his work. Like he's written films for Steven Spielberg before, and Steven Sotomayor. But this series is pretty much completely his own. Scott Frank wrote and directed every episode, which I'm seeing with kind of in this like TV renaissance that we're kind of in, especially with miniseries.
It is better. It's the better format. It's the better format.
Especially with this miniseries, or in miniseries in general, you're kind of seeing one director doing every episode.
I watched some because I absolutely loved this series.
Yeah.
For so many different reasons. But I watched a bunch of like behind the scenes stuff and making of stuff, and while I get what you're saying as far as him like writing and directing everything, he was also talking about all the different team members. That, the costume design and the sets. I mean, like the sets are just insane. So he was spending more time talking about all of his collaborators, which I appreciate because,
well, a
lot of times those people are not talked about enough.
Right. And they really do deserve it for this show because the set dressing and the costumes, how they recreate the 1960s is amazing. And I said this in my breakdown kind of at the end of just, it's not just creating 1960s America. They recreate one. It's not my favorite episode of the series, but it's probably my favorite setting of the series is when they're in Mexico City.
Yeah.
And recreating 1960s Mexico City when, Mexico City at that time, kind of like the center of the Latin world, was just amazing. How they really get the feel of, you feel like you're in this epicenter of everything when you're in those Mexico City scenes.
Yeah, and also, I mean, just about the whole idea of the renaissance of TV. This is because in that same behind the scenes, not documentary, it was a short thing on YouTube, but he was talking about how he had tried like 10 years ago to do this as a film.
Yeah, Scott Frank was a big fan of Walter Tevis, who wrote the novel, and he had tried to do this as a feature film originally, and then decided to do it as a miniseries.
Dude, I had so many times where I thought throughout this, it's 100% better as a miniseries.
Right.
Because they're able to go so deep into Beth and like...
Yes.
The background and showing her childhood. And like, you just could not get the emotional... Dude, like at the end, when it's like revealed that Schreibel, her teacher, however you say his name, had like that shrine to her. Yeah. I fucking literally almost cried. Yeah. I was like, that hit me like a ton of bricks. Like,
it was great. I never read the novel. So I don't know how much of it was just for the TV show and how much of it they actually took from the novel.
But to be taking that ride for 7 episodes, as opposed to just sitting there for an hour and a half to 2 hours, you're sitting there for 7 and change hours, at least.
Yeah, well, I feel like it really does with the 7 episode arc. You do get a sense of because we follow Beth over years.
Yeah.
And you do get a sense of you took this journey with her because you're watching her for so long. In the movie The Hustler, which I talked about, was Walter Tevis's other book. It only takes place over over a course of a few months. So maybe for that, a 2-hour film is more appropriate. But when you watch somebody grow up, you don't want to just keep with this person for 2 hours. You want to understand the complexities of who this person is. Beth is one of the most complex characters that we've really talked about on the show.
Yeah, definitely. It's like how much of an individual she was, but how much she was also striving for connection. Yeah,
exactly.
She was really a deep character because she was fine being on her own, but she clearly was interested in human connection. And then the way that they did her childhood was not just the obvious stuff like the orphanage, which that stuff was really powerful, but the weird shit with her mother and how they play that out, and dude, there's some serious performances in this thing. Even her mom, who's barely in the show. Yeah. What is her screen time? 5 minutes total throughout the entire thing, and she fucking killed it. And everybody killed it. There was no bad acting.
The stepmom also killed it. I know that Scott,
basically her mom.
Yeah. But
exactly.
her stepmom, that character. Yeah. Scott Frank said specifically that he wrote that. He wrote her lines with that actress in mind.
I was audibly yelling at her. Yeah. I'm just don't give her a fucking drink. No. Yeah. Because I know how that plays out.
Yeah.
Being a former drinker.
I think. But also, it's the first scene of the entire series. We know how that's going.
Toothpaste on my sweatshirt.
We know how that's going to end up for her. We know how that one drink ends up with her later on.
Yeah, and also that stupid bimbo from France who ends up fucking her night up. I'm sorry, is that not a cool word anymore? That's an old school
bimbo
word. Well, I don't know. But anyway,
no.
But the point is you know how that's gonna end.
Yeah.
Just have one drink. Really? We've all said that.
Yeah, we all understand where this is going. Back to what I was saying about kind of these new miniseries of how, back in the day with television, forget miniseries, just the idea that you'd have the same director for 7 episodes was almost unheard of.
Why is that exactly? Because I know even that was obviously even a thing with The Sopranos, which is the go-to example of everything. But what? Because to me that.
So here's the thing.
Wouldn't you want the same person for continuity and all that? Is it just a workload issue?
Normally, it is really just a workload issue.
That I could get.
Especially with television shows. Television shows, when you have a series, especially back in the day when people were doing 24 1-hour episodes for a season, like Law and Order, you can't have somebody direct 24 episodes in a row. And a lot of them would do
depends on the shooting schedule, but if you're trying to bang them
out, if it's a weekly episode a Law and Order or a Madam Secretary, then you wouldn't have the same director. It's just too much of a workload. You can't get it all done in time.
So here's where your experience in this industry comes in, where we don't actually even call upon doing this that much, but break down for the people why that's not going to happen for a director. What is going into a director's job description?
Well, because
that's going to be so...
People don't understand how much prep time that there is.
So talk about it.
There's so much prep time for a director, where a director is really going over everything. And a lot of it takes place before they shoot. So what they do for a lot of series, I don't know if this was so much the case back in the day. This is at least how they do it now, is they basically do it in blocks where you have 2 or 3 episodes. That's a block. So you have one director for those 3 episodes. He's prepping the episodes, and then you shoot. While you're shooting those 3 episodes, you're prepping the next 3. So that's a different director who's working on prepping while they're working on shooting.
Right.
And then it goes in blocks. It's usually
just to keep it moving.
Just to keep it moving, that's how it is. But when you're doing a miniseries, especially with Netflix when they're all appearing at once,
right,
you don't have to keep making sure that the episode is ready for the next week.
Got it.
And if you want someone like Scott Frank who wants a continuous feeling, vibe throughout the entire series, you can have him direct every episode. But they also do that for HBO when they were doing Escape from Dannemora. Ben Stiller directed every episode. And that still came out weekly, but they shot the entire thing first before anything aired.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I was wondering too? Do you think these were all maybe this is a stupid question, but do you think these were all shot as episodes, or do you think they shot a gang of shit?
No.
And
no.
They cut them as episodes.
If you're running like a typical show, you would shoot them in episodes.
I know, but for this scenario,
for this one, probably not.
I didn't think so either. No. I started to get the sense that
they probably shot it like a movie,
like a long movie, and just
like a long movie. In a movie, you don't shoot in chronological order.
No.
You shoot by location.
Yes.
That's the easiest way to do it. That's probably what they did.
That always fucks me up too, about how does an actor shoot out of order? I would find that, not that I know, but I would imagine that's hard. Like how does Beth shoot a scene where she's like, going against Borgoff, and then shoot a scene where she's like, supposed to be 15 years old?
It's all the preparation that's done beforehand. Yeah. You go in.
You got to know who the fuck you are.
Shoot. You understand who you are through these.
Yeah.
Through the whatever 3 different stages that you're doing. I mean, there was a interview with Anna Taylor-Joy where she was talking about like I had to do 3 different wigs because I'm supposed to be 3 different ages.
I saw that one.
You got to understand. Just have a real grip of who your character is during those times. There's a famous line in like Groundhog Day when Bill Murray was talking about when he was shooting Groundhog Day. Yeah. He would talk to the director and just be like, just tell me if I'm supposed to be nice or if I'm supposed to be an asshole, because he couldn't keep track of like where his character was supposed to be at the time.
Yeah. Well, also I don't know that Bill Murray's like a big preparation guy.
I don't know either.
Maybe he is.
Anna Taylor-Joy, like a lot of people know her now because of the show.
So good.
She's amazing. If you're like someone who's into indie movies like I am, I knew her from 2015's The Witch. Which
she was like a kid then.
She was either 18 or 19. Yeah. But The Witch was like, in the indie world, everybody was talking about her because she was this young girl who gave this amazing performance where she's like this 16th century, basically woods witch, and that was a big movie that kind of got her a lot of recognition, at least in like the people who are like really into films. Because The Witch was not a big movie. It didn't really have any well-known actors. Like, she became well-known after that. And then she was in the movie Split, which is M. Night Shyamalan. His, like, one of his most recent movies, which was another one that, like, brought her into success. She was in, like, the new X-Men. And now with Queen's Gambit, it's like she's everywhere. She's like David O. Russell. You know David O. Russell, the director?
Yeah.
She's going to be in his new movie.
Yeah, no, she's gonna be a star
and she's becoming an absolute star.
Yeah.
Because of Queen's Gambit. And like, she was someone I was rooting for a while because like she really had talent.
She's still really young too.
She's 24. Yes. Yeah. It's also funny watching her like in interviews, she has like a very interesting accent.
Dude, I was like a little like heartbroken when I heard her voice. Like, not that there's nothing wrong with her voice, obviously, but like, dude, you fall in love with Beth. Let's keep it 100.
Yes.
Like, let's keep it real. Like, you know, no disrespect to the missus, but you know, like, this is like, you know, powerful shit.
There is that associating an actor with their character, and it is you're expecting the actress to be that character.
And her voice is like, dude, everything about her performance was so good.
Yeah,
even her voice, like her voice had this mix of like all of those aspects that I was describing.
Yeah,
she captured that in her voice.
Well, here's the thing, Beth Harmon, she's supposed to be from Kentucky.
Right.
And I like how they don't really give her a Kentucky or really a Southern accent.
It's a little bit in there.
Well, what I feel like she has more just this generic American accent.
Yes, exactly.
And you really feel like this is a girl from nowhere.
I mean, to me, and first of all, what's up with all these British actors that are just killing it? But they're all British, dude.
Anna Taylor-Joy, you can hear this in her accent of she's American. She was born in Miami. She grew up
Florida.
She was born in Miami, but then
she was Casey Anthony's roommate.
But then she was living in Argentina for a while. And then she was living in London for a while.
Okay.
But listen to her in interviews. You see, she doesn't have like a classic British accent. Her accent.
She doesn't have an American accent. That's
but I feel like her accent very much feels like a mix of those three places.
Okay.
I feel like it's 100%. It's like British with like a mix of South America.
But even Benny is British.
Yeah. And Harry is also British.
Yeah, which
we know from The Devil All the Time.
Yeah,
and also he was in Harry Potter.
I wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah, but
Benny was great too, man. I didn't like him at first. I was like, "Who's the schmuck with the hat?" But I guess that's the point of your first impression.
Yeah,
but then like, dude, this is an interesting fucking series, man.
Well, here's the thing about.
This is like porn for nerds, though. Seriously?
Here's
like this beautiful ass chick who's like awesome at chess.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how many nerds probably like will never recover from this? I mean, she fucked me up, and like I don't give a flying fuck about nerd shit.
I was really into chess when I was a kid. I was in chess club when I was in chess club.
You border on that line.
Of being
you like
nerd.
a lot of nerd shit.
No, I'm definitely, but I was never.
You're not a nerd. I'm not calling you a nerd.
I was never super into chess. When I was like in elementary school, I was running shit on the chess table.
I don't remember that from our childhood.
I got like, as soon as I got like 13 and I started getting beat all the time, when like people who are actually good at chess you were facing, then I kind of gave up on it. When I was a little kid, I was really into chess.
There's always that breaking point. Like for me, it was like with skateboarding, like or sports. Like, am I gonna become a professional baseball player? No. Am I going to become a professional skateboarder? No. Like you have to kind of. That's just natural.
Well, it does kind of show up in the.
Unless you're going to put the work in.
It does show up in the series because when she's talking to Harry. And he was just like, I wasn't obsessed with it like you were. Dude, he was like, I thought I loved chess, but I didn't.
I fucking paused the TV and I needed a moment to recover from that.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, this is what I talk about all the time with music. All the time.
Yeah.
How much do you love music? Don't tell me you love music until you're fucking putting your ass on the line like I do. You know? And I'm not like, you got to put. And then there was something that I can't remember who said it, but it was about like, you know, well, a couple things. It was about like the sacrifice that people don't see that she made.
Yeah.
You know? And when we were watching the one episode we watched together, I said to you like, look, see, because her mom responds positively when she got that bit of money in the very beginning. And I'm like, see, they're responding to success.
Yeah.
People respond to success. They don't see what's beneath the success. And the sooner that you know, support people on their journey to success, That you need to support those people. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're not going to get those special people.
That is, I kind of feel like, is the struggle of Beth of like, one, she's kind of addicted to winning, and two, she feels like she has to win in order to prove her meaning. In order to prove her kind of worth, she has to win. And like, look at the world that she grew up in, where her only support, at least besides from, you know, the janitor, her only real support was when she was a winner.
Yeah.
It was the success that people responded to. Before that, no one cared that she was a girl who really liked chess. Her mother even told her not to do it because she was just like, oh, well, if you want to be social,
dude, I was legitimately getting like fucking triggered by shit because I'm just like, this is how you fucking, you know, thankfully she was really strong. And like, truthfully, if you're, well, I don't know, like, I'm worried about how many kids could have been, not necessarily Beth, but could have done something, but it was stamped out of them at a young age.
Right.
That troubles me like so much.
There is, especially with like the themes of Christianity in this show, kind of the church represents conformity of, first of all, she's a woman playing chess, and chess was male dominated. A lot of things back in the 60s were male dominated.
Yeah.
And there is kind of this struggle between her and how a young woman is supposed to act. She stops playing chess in the orphanage because kind of, they want her to stop because that's not what young ladies do. And then, you know, when
she had the episode.
And right. And then when she is in high school, she can't really connect to the other girls because, you know, the other girls act the way that they are supposed to. Or at least,
dude, I love it. I love the whole exchange that she has, dude, with like the mean girl in the school who like now is like, I did the right thing and I'm a housewife and I, you know, had a kid. But under the surface are all these liquor bottles. By the way, they got alcohol spot on.
That was another thing about
spot on.
You know,
I'm speaking from experience. Believe that.
There are some scenes. There are scenes where we see Beth being like a sloppy drunk, but
they nailed it.
But it's not about that. It's about the reasons of why somebody would be drinking.
But also, dude, sometimes, you know, I'm a you know, person who has a drinking thing in their past, you know, and I'm currently sober. Maybe I won't be in the future, but I am now. I'll probably, if I do go back to drinking, it won't be the same way that I used to. But the point being, like, a lot of times when drinking is portrayed in like media like that, they don't get it right at all.
No.
Like, and you can tell, like, but I don't know who they had around them. Like, as far as like, I know they had chess people involved, making sure that things were legit. They got alcohol right, especially Beth being a person who's discovering alcohol and has a tendency toward addiction. Nailed it. Like the way that she like immediately wants another one. I can't even really describe it. It's just a feeling like that's accurate.
But
hold on. And it also shows like, it also shows how, like, the tragedy of not just the drunk driving accident or the now I'm in jail, but it's that little line where it's like, it might just be blocking you. It might just be making you just, what's the word I'm looking for? Just complacent enough that it's going to stop you from real progress in your life. That's what it really shows.
I feel like one that I liked is that it's not shown in a typical way. They don't really like the drunk driving or like the she's sloppy all the time. You get some scenes where Beth is sloppy, but
that's how life is. Sometimes you are like that. Yeah.
But like that's not the main focus.
No.
And really, the times that she's sloppy is not like the real times that you're like, oh, Beth is drinking a lot. And it's also not. It's not shown like she doesn't have the ability to stop. Like, there are other movies about alcoholism, like if you ever the
It's
Denzel,
it's a nuanced description.
If you ever watch the Denzel Washington movie Flight, it shows alcoholism of just like he's literally unable to like stop drinking, and this is more like she has the ability to stop 100%, but mentally she does not want to. And the truth is, like, they're looking at the reasons of why somebody would start to drink. She prefers alcohol to people. That's what it comes. That's what it breaks down to.
The scene in the bar where she's sitting next to Benny, and she's ordering another 2, and he's like, "Well, I'm still on my first one." That's a fact, dude.
Yeah,
that's a fact. That was my life. Like, that's a whole, like, that's right. You know, like you and it's hard to describe because it's not just like, well, she drinks more than the others. It's like, it's that feeling of like, no, I need that next one. Even if I know I have one here, as soon as I'm halfway done, I need to know there's another one coming just so I can continue having a conversation without getting fucking, you know, nervous or, you know.
Well, yeah,
it's a security blanket.
It stems from the fact that, one, alcohol is not going to abandon her.
Right.
She's dealt with abandonment her entire life. And 2, she has trouble connecting with people. She doesn't have you don't have to have an emotional connection to a bottle of liquor. If you're going to be in a relationship, we see her 2 kind of love interests, and they fall apart because she can't connect to them about anything other than chess, because she has problems making emotional connections with other people. She has problems trusting people. You don't need to put that same trust into a bottle of alcohol. And that's why she prefers alcohol to people.
Well, and also, like, when it shows her actually really fucked up and drunk, like, that's accurate too, you know? Like, I really like how they portrayed that. And but it's interesting because I like that they didn't just make her like, well, fuck people, I'm just gonna drink. It was like they gave you enough of that humanity where she's like, well, why don't you move in here? Like, she's like, she wants that connection. Or like, even the sex scenes were pretty well done. Where it's like, it wasn't like, it was pretty realistic as far as like those situations.
Right. Well, yeah, there is. And also it's like, you understand why Beth wants to isolate herself. I mean, this is someone where, like, really everybody, you wonder why she can't have a connection with another person. Every person she's tried to have a connection with has kind of abandoned her.
Yeah. I mean, her mom initially, whoever her biological father was, her stepfather, who that guy is a fucking piece of shit. Yeah. And then her mom, real mother, who's her stepmother, dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, well, Walter Tevis, who wrote the book, he was a real life alcoholic, and pretty much every character in his books is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Eddie Felsen,
he knows what he's talking about, man, because that's accurate. That's accurate. That's the first time I really seen alcohol on screen, and I went, whoever was behind that, they know what they're doing.
He like Eddie Felsen from The Hustler was also an alcoholic. Also, like, a lot of the same problems that Beth had, where he's unable to really connect with people. And he had this book that David Bowie stars the main character in the movie, but basically he had wrote this book about, like, an alien who comes down from Mars to Earth and, like, immediately No, not Labyrinth. It was called something else. I don't remember. But he literally wrote a book where, like, this alien comes down to Earth and then immediately becomes an alcoholic. You know, this was he had wrote Queen's Gambit, I believe, after he was sober for a while. But yeah, like, pretty much every character in his books has problems with alcohol. So I kind of brought this up in my breakdown that this kind of theme, this story that we're being told through the Queen's Gambit, it's a story that, like, we've heard a lot before of, like, this is an obsessive artist. movie.
Right. But
it's the obsessive artist.
I know it's not even an original concept. But
No,
it
it's
just
not. But
was
it's done in
so
such
well.
an original way.
Exactly.
I had made a lot of comparisons to Tanya Harding in I, Tanya.
Yeah.
Because I do believe
Definitely.
that while they're wildly different characters,
No, I see the connection.
but it is the same basic story. Or like Natalie Portman's character in Black Swan.
Yeah, I could see that.
And you see, well, one with all three of these characters.
Good three good movies.
Yeah. One with Beth Harmon and Tanya Harding. They need to be the best at what they do to prove their worth to the people who've kind of abandoned them.
Dude, Beth Harmon is like up there as far as like characters in like the history of shit goes, as far as I'm concerned. Like I was like,
well, yeah, you can see why like someone in that position would obsess over something. She has an uncontrollable life, but she's really good at chess, and it's saying, if I can control this one thing, if I can be the best at one thing, if I can be the most worthwhile at one thing, then it proves to the rest of the world that I have value.
Yep.
And that's the point of the obsessive artist. Look at Tanya Harding, who, you know, her struggles are not that different from Beth Harmon's. She had a mother who, you know, an abusive mother and an abusive husband.
If that film is accurate.
Right. Well, we're
basing
talking
it off
about
of
I, Tanya, the movie.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about real life Tanya Harding.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know. Maybe it is accurate.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
But you see, I mean, she needs to be
abusive
the best
husband.
She needs to be the best to the point where, you know, she's willing to hire someone to break another girl's ankles.
Well, yeah.
It's a bit more of an accident in the movie, but you understand, like, this is someone who they're obsessed over their craft because they need to prove their worth because of lifetime of trauma. Lifetime of trauma has basically, one, created an emotional void in them, and there's kind of this need to fill the emotional void, and two, to just prove that they're worth something to the universe. And also, I love just going back to like the costume designs of this. The last outfit we see Beth in, the white jacket, where she has basically become the queen. And like you see this girl, this scared little girl that we saw from the beginning, who we've seen throughout the entire series, who feels like she's worthless, who feels like she will never be good enough, who feels like she will never have another person that she can have a connection with who won't abandon her, has gotten her confidence and has become the queen, has kind of like become the figurative Queen Gambit. Yeah. And it is amazing. And then the last one, the last game of chess we see her play, she's not up against some big competition, some man that she needs to prove herself against. It's against this old guy in the park.
Yeah, who I kind of took him to be a representation of her original, like a little bit, like, because it was kind of
Mr. Scheibel.
It was kind of setting it up, like.
But also, I didn't really make that connection, but I can see where you're coming from.
It literally, spoiler alert, I guess, but it ends on kind of like a similar scenario where she's like sitting down to kind of. It felt like full circle. I also like that, like, Borgov and whoever the other, Lomachenko or whatever, who I believe that's like also a Russian, like in real life, there's a Lomachenko who was like involved in the doping scandal. But anyway, like the two guys, the last two people she beats in Russia. Yeah. Like how they just like kind of like pass the torch essentially at the end. Yeah. And I kind of took that as like, they're a little bit like, just happy for like the game of chess. Yeah, well, there like is where it's just like this thing that like we spent our lives like it's not going to go away because like this is like the next generation.
Well, there is really, with the Soviet characters, especially, I mean, in 2020, of course, things are going to be nuanced, but like they're not shown as really like the bad guys.
No, like in the beginning, kind of, where it's like almost in the first contest that she has with Borgov, where you're going like, are they gonna try to fucking kill her? Like, where they're like in the elevator.
Yeah.
But I love what he says though. He's like, she's an orphan. She's a fighter.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well, they have this line of just like, the Soviets win because they play as a team.
Yeah,
the Soviets win because they trust each other. That's why.
Right.
Because they trust their teammates. And it's like the Americans don't win because they're individualists, they're isolationists. And it is this kind of lesson
that's why Bernie Sanders is right now. We're good for like one Bernie reference in an episode.
One Bernie reference per episode, and then we're but it's this lesson they're trying to teach Beth the entire time of just like, I know you have abandonment issues, you have trauma, but if you want to be great at this game, you have to put trust into your peers.
Yeah, and when they were all together at the end, like working on various scenarios, like that was great.
It was great. And I love how they kind of brought everyone back who she had beat.
Yeah, I was pumped
and
up.
It's like, and they're all pumped. And like these guys who were all rivals are coming together because they're like, this is
like love interest.
And competitor love interests.
Right.
Are coming together because they're like, this is our girl, this is our team, and we are going to win this. It's not, and
I felt like, I don't know if this is a weird statement, but like, I really liked how they represented intimacy and sex in the show.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like it was done accurately for once. Where it's not beating you over the head with some fucking message.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like, yes, she has sex with multiple people, but it never feels like, they're trying to prove a point of like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
something I like with her two love interests is that it could have very easily became like a teen love triangle.
Well, certainly that, but it also could have been like an overly political, like overreaching, where it's like, guys, this was the 60s.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like, it felt real. I don't know how to describe it. Like, I like the way they portrayed alcohol, and I like the way they portrayed sex.
Well, it's also just like, this is a story that takes place over multiple years. She had more than one partner. Like,
right,
that's realistic.
It just, of course, but it just doesn't. It didn't feel like. It didn't feel like they were like forcing some kind of message that just would have fucked the story up.
Right. I do like how she has these two different relationships, and it doesn't really work out with either of them, but they all come together over their shared love of chess in the end. And you could have very easily. That could have very easily been like the teen love triangle relationship.
Dude, thank God they didn't do that.
Thank God they didn't do it.
That would have ruined the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, and I like how like in the end she really doesn't choose either of them.
Yeah, but guess what? Sometimes that's real life too.
But also like, that's real life.
And
that's what
also
happens.
Sometimes you're just cool with whatever happened.
Yeah.
And everyone was able to be an adult about it and come together in the end. And like, Benny's kind of a wild character anyway. So like, who knows what's going on with him? And like, the other guy, I don't know. Like I just liked how they did it. It felt like they didn't really there was no real missteps throughout this whole thing. I haven't seen something in a while where it was like, they really didn't fuck a lot up.
No.
Like it was pretty fucking well done.
Well, I do like one with Benny and with Harry's character. One with Benny is like, you feel like, I get this a lot with boxers, of just like the character that you become is part of the game. A lot of like that dressing up and that like, I'm too cool for you. That's to psych people out before the game.
Oh, definitely. And also I love the fact that like, I mean, It's not really shitty because that's a pretty good amount of space for Brooklyn. But like,
yeah.
But like, you know, it's a shitty apartment.
Yeah.
Like where it's like, you know, it was actually not that bad in terms of space. You couldn't spruce it up. But the point being, like, she goes into the wrong apartment because he's some hotshot. Like she just assumes
it's this hotshot world adventurer like persona that he kind of comes forward. That's part of it.
Exactly.
And a lot of it, they understand, like, chess is a mind game.
100%. So is music.
You trying to beat your opponent doesn't start when the game begins. It goes for a while. And it's the same with boxing. Look at Conor McGregor, how he acted. A lot of it was psyching people, his shit talking and all that stuff. A lot of it was psyching people up before the match.
Yeah, I don't even know what his deal is anymore because it's like, what is he even trying to do? Like he
I don't know. He should just retire. Honestly,
he should really retire. But I mean, he just gets
the same thing with Harry. Like
he's just he's like The Rock now. You know, I'm not trying to talk about MMA, but the point being, like he's not scary anymore.
No. Another thing with that, with her first match against Harry in like the Kentucky state champion, he's like yawning during every. He shows up late to the match. He's yawning through the entire thing.
The photographer guy or her?
No. Her Harry, her love interest,
who ends
forget
up
the photographer guy's game.
Yeah, he was good.
He was
too.
also very good.
Yeah, he was good too. You know who he reminded me of? Remember That Thing You Do?
Oh yeah.
Doesn't he look like the main dude?
He does. That's not the same actor, but they do look the same.
That movie was like fucking 30 years ago.
Well, that guy, he's in a show called I'm Sorry that it was a few years ago. He looks pretty similar.
Okay.
I mean,
but that's, first of all, that's one of my all-time favorite movies.
That Thing You Do, yeah.
I think it actually came out in 96, so that's 25 years ago.
Jesus.
Yeah, or 96, I think it came out. But anyway, he looked like that the main, not the main guy in the band is obviously the drummer, but he looked like the singer of the band.
Oh, the singer is who you're talking about.
Who do you think I meant?
I thought you were talking about the drummer.
No, I thought he looked like Liv Tyler's original boyfriend.
Gotcha. All right. Well, another thing when you bring up...
You're right. He does look he doesn't look much like he aged at all.
Yeah.
The fuck is his name? It's bothering me.
I don't remember.
Guy.
Another thing of like...
Is it about to be a White Boy Summer?
Chet Hanks, White Boy Summer?
Well, Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks' son.
But he directed That Thing You Do, Tom Hanks.
Did he direct it?
That was the original White Boy Summer. A lot of people don't know
Did he direct it or did he just produce it?
Oh, I don't know. He starred in it. No, I think he directed it.
Maybe. I'm
pretty sure.
I'm actually not sure about that. But one of the things
I hope that, by the way, I hope that reference is still relevant whenever this comes out. Otherwise, I just seem like I'm...
White Boy Summer?
Yeah.
It might be more relevant.
Oh, God. Help us all.
Another thing about, like, the great... the recreation of the 60s.
Yeah.
You talked about That Thing You Do, and it never becomes over the top. That Thing You Do, and a lot of movies that kind of create this nostalgia for the 60s, it becomes cheesy almost. It becomes over the top, and it's playing into people's nostalgia for that time period. You see that a lot with like Stranger Things or shows that take place in the 80s now.
Yeah. Or the 90s.
Or the 90s of it's playing into nostalgia. This never plays into nostalgia. You feel like it's a more realistic version of the 60s. It
does just enough to like not make it about that.
Yeah.
Like it's like there's references and stuff.
There's references. She listens to Jefferson Airplane at one point.
Yeah, dude, the music is on point. Yeah. Dude, this fucking thing was awesome.
This show is great, and I do
she's got like the 60s dances down.
It feels like a time capsule.
Like a dime piece and a half.
Hell yeah. It feels like a time capsule of just like nothing feels overly nostalgic. It doesn't feel like this kind of painted version of the 60s that we're used to seeing in kind of movies that, like, you know, the vibe is the 60s. This is more like a very realistic of how this time period was. And they just get it down perfect. Also, like the fact that it's kind of the early 60s, not the late 60s. So
I think it ends in 68, right?
Right.
Russia is in 68.
But in the beginning,
Yes.
when like it's still almost 50s-ish.
Right. Yeah.
And they get that very when you're a kind of an art director or a set designer, kind of that in between two cultural moments.
Yeah.
It's difficult to get down. Like the early 60s when it's not quite the hippies like the 60s that we know of, but it's also not quite like the 50s that we know
It's
of.
like
and they nail that, like the scenes that are in like 63 or 64, they really like nail that.
I just think of the Beatles haircuts. Like it was like
Right.
that line between where their haircuts changed.
Right, exactly. And but then when it goes into 68, you know, they get that time period down perfectly. And they could have went more into like, and I'm glad that they didn't do this. They could have went more into like the hippie vibes of it, especially when now she's hanging out with college kids.
They kind of go there, but they don't go too heavy with it.
Well, they go more like, this is realistically how a college person would dress.
Yeah.
It's a little hippie-ish, but it's not over the top like some other movies would have done, like how Forrest Gump would have done.
Dude, and I love how like the accuracy of just like even going back to that you know, that weird feeling of like seeing your high school friend, but now they have a kid, like she had a kid, and like you could just tell she fucking hates her life.
She hates when she
such
sees
a common tale.
The like mean girl from high school later
dude.
on. Well, here's the thing of like, there is almost a judgment from the mean girl to Beth, like, because there is almost like,
but there's a jealousy.
There's a jealousy. Well, I saw that scene as just like, yeah, I hate my life, but like at least I did what I was supposed to do. At least I'm married and I have a kid, and you're like, you know, going off doing chess things. That's how I read that scene.
I took it like she was straight up jealous.
Oh, all right. I mean,
interesting
that's how I read that scene.
Demi Lovato was just on Rogan.
Okay.
I know you don't listen to him anymore, but
not really.
I'm actually like 3/4 of the way through it. It's fucking fascinating. Like,
okay.
And I'll tell you why it's relevant.
Okay.
She gives an example. She was like, Demi Lovato, I didn't know anything about her beforehand.
She had a hardcore problem for a while.
But she had serious bullying issues in school when she was a kid.
Right.
And the main mean girl, like she started a suicide like petition to get her to kill herself, Demi Lovato.
In high school?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And all these years later, like part of Demi Lovato's rehab process was like going back and like forgiveness is one of the steps. So she like called this mean girl from high school, and she was just describing how the mean girl like couldn't even believe that she remembered her because she's this Demi Lovato big superstar. And she's like, how would you think I forgot you? Like, you ruined my life. Like, obviously in the Queen's Gambit, it's not a suicide pact, but I just find that dynamic to be interesting, where it's like, you know, you were the fucking dude, like you were the hot shit in high school. Now I'm the shit, and like the roles are reversed, and you hate your life. Like it's just, I don't know.
I mean,
being a bully doesn't pay off.
I read that scene differently, but I mean, I do like that reading of it.
That was me. I was getting like the desperation. I was getting that she hates her life, and you know, dude, she's drinking the pain away. She's doing the same shit, just for different reasons. Because she bought the whole fucking concept of the American life bullshit, and she had, you know.
And there is always this kind of authority figures kind of telling Beth that like she should follow the like path of like the proper girl. of like, this chess thing, like, you don't do that. Like, you should join other social clubs because it would be better for your social life.
Be a fucking loser like everybody
finding
else.
A man.
Yeah,
and then
be a fucking jack-off
and then
loser
when
like
she
everybody else,
is-
except instead of applying yourself to something.
And then when
Great advice.
she is successful, like the kind of church group who is just like, well, we want you to kind of conform to our ideas because that's what an American sportsman is, the ideals that an American sportsman are trying to.
How about you go fuck yourself? How about that? I love that too. Like,
yeah.
We had something pre-written for you. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly. But it is kind of just like
Cold War.
It's a Cold War. We had to beat the Russians. MK Ultra. I'm not going to bring up MK Ultra right now. Never mind. But I just finished a book that I want to do another episode on, but I'm not going to bring up MK Ultra right now. We're talking about chess and Beth Harmon.
So yeah,
I don't know what I'm going to say with this. Basically, like,
go for it. Take a chance.
There is this idea of just like the Soviets are wrong, the Soviets are our enemy, but like the Soviets' way of playing chess is what works. The Soviets' way of like, we work as a team, not as individuals. That's what gets them wins, and that's what gets Beth the win at the end. Of like,
correct. That was one thing I did think was funny, where it was just like, and in the end, Beth was wrong. Like, not that she was wrong.
Well,
like,
it's not
it
so
was a
much
teamwork thing.
Yeah, because with all the stuff of just like people are trying to
Wait, I actually didn't even say that right, because all the things they were preparing for,
it didn't work.
It didn't
and
work,
it ended up to her individuality.
Exactly.
But I think the kind
I
of
didn't catch that.
I think
Caught myself
the
slipping.
kind of victory for Beth is that she is finally able to put trust into other people after a
definitely.
lifetime of wanting to isolate herself because of her abandonment, because the only people who really want to get close to her only want to because they want her to conform to their ideas of like, yeah, obviously this person wants to isolate herself. And you can't conform to what everybody wants you to be, but also if because of that you're just isolating yourself, then you're not doing yourself any favors either.
No, but I never thought that she was genuinely just isolating herself for the sake of it. Like, I always felt like it was like a reaction thing, but like, I just like how they played that she wasn't, it's not that she was against human interaction.
No, it's just she didn't really trust other people. She's somebody who, like, whenever someone gets close to her or whenever somebody she can really like feel a connection with, she kind of gets this like, I know what the next thing coming is. You're going to leave because that's what happens. And she never wants to really, with Harry, who like does truly like her, not just because of chess, because like he does think that they like have other connections outside of this game. And then again with Benny, one, she only wants to relate to these people through the filter of chess. Harry is living with her and basically telling her, like, there's more to life than just chess. She doesn't really want to relate to other people outside of chess because chess is kind of her filter to connect with other people.
She tries, though. She tries.
Yeah.
Like, she's not against social. I like that they never made her an elitist.
No, but that's exactly of why she's a complex character, because I do explain that, but also there is another side of her where, like, yes, she wants to isolate herself, but she also does want that connection.
Yeah, she's not an elitist. Like, they played that line really well, which I appreciate.
And she's
she's vulnerable too. Like, she fucks up a bunch. Yeah. Like, she
self-sabotages.
Yeah, but she also is not like, she also leaves herself vulnerable for people that are like, dude, like the misery loves company people in the, like her mother. was a big time enabler, and again, that was a complicated relationship because they also did have a genuine companionship.
Yeah.
And they also did, the mother took her out of the orphanage, and then when fucking the husband, who's a piece of shit, no good, then Beth gives the mother basically a reason to live.
Yeah.
And she becomes kind of her cheerleader. Now, of course, there was a little financial motive for her, but it didn't seem like that was it. Like, it seemed like a genuine thing. So I don't know. They did a good job. Every character was well written.
That is kind of, and that's what makes kind of a complicated and an interesting character is human beings in real life, we don't only want one thing. People who want to isolate themselves, that's not only what they want. And sometimes what we want are in conflict with each other.
Oh, dude, 100%.
And that's kind of...
That reminds me of a Little Brother lyric. I want a girl when I want a girl, and when I don't want a girl, I want a girl who understands that. But it's not like, dude.
No, that's funny.
Yeah, and you could switch that around. It could be boy. It's not about a girl, but it could be Beth saying that about, one of her boyfriends.
Yeah.
But that's sometimes you want two different things.
The theme of kind of self-sabotage. It's very present in this, but it's also very present in kind of all of Walter Tevis' novels, because Walter Tevis was somebody who through his drinking would screw up a lot of his writing and would go for long periods without writing books, and you see that in Beth of one, she has a match the next day, but she decides to get drunk with the French girl instead.
Yeah, because the French girl is a loser who has nothing going for her, so she needs to fucking claw onto other people, and I need to drag you down. Have a drink with me. Go out with me. Let's party. You know how many people I know like that, or I knew like that? And Beth leaves herself vulnerable to that situation because she does want human connection.
Yes, 100%, because she wants human connection, and she's willing to sabotage herself because of it. And I wonder
that's
also...
the smart thing about how they do play alcohol in this movie, because some people actually could go have one or two drinks, but she can't because she has a proclivity towards addiction.
Yeah. And then I wonder how much of the self-sabotage is that, she really does believe that she really might believe that she's not good enough, and she self-sabotages herself because of that.
That's definitely
because 100% she's going up against one of the best.
It's easier than to just lose.
Yes, it's easier than to just lose.
Exactly.
And that's kind of...
there's tons of people that do that. That's the whole it's easier not to try than to try and lose.
Yeah, well...
Because you can't get hurt. There's no stakes.
No, if she goes up against Borgov, one of the best chess players in the world, and she gets hammered the night before,
right?
Well, now she knows why she. Well,
built-in excuse.
Now she's not. Now she's not worthless.
Built-in excuse.
Now there's a reason.
By the way, that guy should get an award just for how he fucking acts with his face.
Borgov?
Have you ever seen dude, his performance, most of it nonverbal.
Yeah.
And fucking great.
Yeah.
That guy,
he's great. He's another complicated character.
He is. He showed a little humanity at the end.
He's not we have things in sports movies of showing the Soviets as just Russian bots.
Yeah,
of kind of robots.
We fucking live in a country that Russia puts out propaganda, so do we.
But this guy, he has a real humanity behind him. He's by no means a bad person. No. And another thing I like is when they're in Mexico City and he has his guards with him. And one of the American guys those guards are there to make sure that he doesn't run away. When I was thinking at the end when Beth is in the Soviet Union and she has her American guards, like the Soviets were probably saying the same exact thing about her, you know?
Which like kind of was true.
Yeah.
It was like the handler.
But also like Beth doesn't conform to what American culture wants her to be. Borgov wasn't conforming to what Soviet culture wanted him to be.
Yeah, well, they made the Soviets in general very sympathetic people.
Yeah, 100%.
Like even the crowd, like, you know, maybe, you know, they really actually didn't really show any Soviet American. Like,
yeah, I mean, besides...
It wasn't a nationalism thing.
Besides the fact that clearly there was this rivalry,
but
it doesn't get really into, like, the politics of the 60s too much, you know?
Really at all.
Or really at all.
That's
I mean,
the one thing it really doesn't touch on. Like, there's, like, very much at the end, like, you very little at the end, I should say, like, where her friend from the orphanage is talking about being a radical... Yeah, they don't even really get into that.
They don't really get into it. They don't really. I mean, Vietnam isn't mentioned at all. And you know, while you definitely 100% get the sense that you know the Americans and the Soviets, they're rivals, you don't get the sense that these are two countries that were willing to blow each other up.
No.
But also, you know, the show isn't about that.
It's not about that, and that's what I'm saying too. Is like, you know what? Maybe back in the day, I would have been like, oh, they should have shown this, or that. But that could have taken away from...
That could have. And you know what? When I'm talking before of like, it's a more realistic... It's not this nostalgia idea of the 60s like we've seen in other movies. Mm-hmm. Maybe if they had more of the politics of the 60s in there, then it would have felt more like, oh, we're doing a 60s nostalgia thing.
It wasn't a political movie,
and it wasn't, not a political show.
It's a human experience thing.
Yeah,
it's a loss thing. It's a human experience. It's a childhood.
Yeah, it's the obsessive artist. That's what it is.
Yeah,
and it's more about our human emotions and how we react to things.
Right.
That was really like that. That's really what I did like about this show is how emotional it is,
dude.
Of how you really feel for it. You really root for Beth.
Oh, dude, I was audibly multiple times like, come on. You know, and then like when something bad was gonna happen, I was just like, dude, come on, get it together. Like,
well, one is it's just
knowing that it's fiction.
Knowing that it's fiction,
that's the power of like when something is really well done.
Yeah,
like, dude, you know,
knowing that like looking at like especially in the early episodes, like what kind of situation she is in, of just like you are in an orphanage. You have to pretend to kind of be like the all-American schoolgirl in order for somebody to adopt you. You get adopted. The foster father does not care about you. Didn't even really want you to begin with. And the mother is dealing with her own things. And it's just like...
The only character that's really not developed is him.
The father?
Because he's just a dick.
Yeah, he's like, just kind of one note of like, I don't want to be here.
The only other sort of personality aspect that comes in is like when he's trying to take the house from her and she buys him out, and then he's like, all right. Like, that's the one thing where you're just like, all right, that was the one moment he wasn't a complete and utter dick. He was just resigned.
Yeah.
But he's not... You know, he didn't get enough screen time to really be fleshed out.
I mean, he's not the most developed character. I don't have...
Neither is the mother.
I don't have such a problem with that.
No, neither do I. I'm just saying, dude, it's such a fucking well-done thing. It's like picking for fucking...
Right, exactly.
You know, anything they could have done better.
This was a great show.
It's really not... I wouldn't have even wanted them to add politics to it because...
No, it probably would have ruined it.
Or just, it would have just been, you know, again, like going back to the whole sex thing, like the way that they did that, I felt like it didn't take away. It felt realistic, the scenarios. Yeah. Like if they just inserted like a political angle, it might not have really sat well.
Right.
You know, and ultimately, that's not what this story was.
No.
Even down to like which we didn't talk about yet, like this being clearly a work of fiction, but still having an emotional reaction to it, like showing the chess pieces, the whole idea of her like visualizing the chess pieces. I thought that was something that could have been tacky or silly and just wasn't. It just like worked. It worked in this weird.
My favorite shot of the entire show is she's in the bathroom. She just got her period for the first time, and she's running half. She's really messing up this game. Her first game against Harry. And she kind of runs into the bathroom. She's looking at herself in the mirror, and it kind of zooms up, and you see the chessboard above her.
Yeah, it cool.
It's one of the great like shots of the entire show of all 7 episodes. Like that's one of my favorite shots in all of it.
I like I think the first time we see it when she's a little girl.
Oh,
by the way, every version of Beth was a very good performance.
Right. Yeah.
Even the toddler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even the toddler. Like they just like, man, this one, we should wrap this up. But as you can tell, we enjoyed this one.
No, I really like this one. Just kind of the obsessive, disturbed artist in general. That kind of that genre, a lot of them is good, but in this one, when you get to spend time with it, you spend years with this character, and literally hours of your life with this character. You really get to understand the psyche of who this person is.
And I got to thinking, because now that this is just part of the mainstream culture, these longer form things, are we going to need this might sound stupid after all this, but I was thinking of like the Academy Awards.
Right.
Obviously this does not play into that because it's not a film.
No, it'd be the Emmys or the Golden Globes is where.
Are we going to get to a point where we have to say like, this is the highest level of shit, dude? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you trying to tell me that there's a film better than what we just watched with this? Because I have a hard time. I'm not saying
I don't. It's hard to compare the two. Honestly.
I'm just talking from an artistic standpoint. Like, is streaming and limited series, is it going to get to a point where that's held above films?
I don't.
I'm saying in 20, 30 years.
Well, what I'm saying is like we're kind of already there,
but not really in terms of
in terms of at least maybe not.
However much this matters is another story, but just
as much
take
as
the
like
Oscars. Just use the Oscars as an example.
I'm saying like maybe not critically like when you're talking about Oscars, but it's in regards to like audience reaction.
Definitely.
To television and miniseries, almost more recognized than film is now. I mean, the Emmys are not on the same level that the Oscars are.
It's not. It's not.
I don't know.
I get what you're saying as far as consumption is concerned.
Here's the thing. There are certain stories that work as movies. There are certain stories that work as miniseries. I always feel that when it comes to novels, it's always better to do it in a miniseries just because, one, with a film with 2 hours, a lot of it is timing. A lot of things is making sure that certain arcs for the characters take place at certain timestamps within the movie. If you have 2 hours, then you got to time it out accordingly. With a book, you do not have to do that, and with a miniseries, you really don't have to do that. So it really depends on kind of what story you're going to tell. I really do think like movies, the 2 hour format, there's a specific type of story that's specific to that format. And kind of the storytelling format that's more present in like a novel would work better in a television series. But maybe maybe that's why people always like the book better, because you're able to get more into detail about things.
Right. Like, I just wonder, are we going to get to a point where like all the big directors or all the big actors or all the big screenwriters are going to push first for a limited series,
right,
and fall back on film? Especially, right. I mean, this had to have made a shitload of money.
With Netflix, it's actually really hard to tell.
But they actually did release a piece of information that like 61 million people viewed it when it came out.
Yes.
So I don't know what that entails.
But here's the thing with streaming.
Well, somebody knows, though.
Somebody knows. Netflix really doesn't release like their numbers.
Why are they allowed to do that? Because they're a private company? But isn't every...
Well, no one has to release their box office.
So what did that just start as like a dick measuring contest back in the day, and all the films stick to it? Because they do that.
Yeah, more or less.
Right?
Like no one's legally required to release what their box office was.
I don't know. I don't know. I that's kind of besides the point. But I think like the main point is just like, will the format?
Look, here's the thing. Like, TV shows, miniseries still don't make as much money.
Okay, why? Because they're more expensive?
No, because it's $20 for a movie ticket.
No, but I'm saying like,
if it's you can still make more of a profit from a movie,
even if it's going to Netflix.
Yes.
Okay.
And look, even if that's what audiences demand, I mean, this is a business. They're going to go where the profit is.
I just wouldn't have assumed that.
I don't know.
I think more content, more money, but I guess I'm wrong.
With streaming, I feel like they're definitely going to find a way to make more of a profit off of streaming, especially with like less people kind of going to theaters now. I don't know. I mean, I try to make predictions for the future of movies, and I end up always being wrong. So I have no idea. Like,
what predictions have you tried to make?
Of just like where the industry is going.
Oh,
and it's hard to tell like what is going to happen. With the popularity of miniseries, I'm sure that they're going to look of how we can make this more profitable. And then maybe we'll have more of like directors will push for a miniseries first.
Yeah.
But for the time being, movies are still, you're going to get more of a profit out of movies.
Okay. That's a surprise.
And showing it in theaters, you're going to get more of a profit.
Well,
yeah. No one's going to go to a theater to see Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah. So if you can't charge $20 per person.
But I mean, who's going to theaters?
When the pandemic is over, I mean,
do you think it'll be back?
Yeah, it'll be back. When Avengers Endgame was out, you couldn't get a ticket.
Which was when? Recently?
2019. Yeah. All right. Queen's Gambit. Walter Tevis is great. If you haven't seen The Hustler or like The Color of Money, those are his other books that turned into movies. The Color of Money is like one of Martin Scorsese's like first movies that he directed. And The Queen's Gambit is just like an emotional story of like you really ride with this girl, you really root for her.
Yep.
And I don't know if it would have worked in 2 hours. It probably wouldn't have. But it was great, and I was glad to do this. We didn't do like a TV series for a while, and I was just like, well, Queen's Gambit, like, that's the show.
Yeah.
All right, this has been Movies by McManus. If you like this, check out our YouTube video where you show the kind of video format of these podcasts. We also have my 10-minute breakdowns of whatever movie or TV show or book we're doing that week. And then we also have clips on our YouTube channel. So,
that's the newest edition.
So you can watch kind of individual clips of our podcast on our YouTube YouTube channel. Also, check us out on social media at Movies by McManus on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. I'm your host, Greg. I'm with my brother, Mike.
The Queen's Gambit, Beth Harmon. Good stuff. Go for it.
And have a good night.